Good morning. It's Thursday and about to start raining. I came over and was going to work down some tie lines along the edge of the waterway here. There were some spots that there was a lot of dirt piled up when I worked yesterday that I was maybe going to try to hit again to get some of those holes filled in, just where the backfill didn't go back where it came out of, I think. However, it looks like it's still quite muddy in those areas that were thick. I mean, the wind blew overnight, but I worked this probably like 5 o'clock yesterday, so the sun didn't shine on it very much after that, and it's been pretty cloudy this morning. You can see the sun a little bit there, but I think it's going to be not worth it. That I'm probably going to just muck up the disc more than anything if I try to do it, so probably just going to go back home. I debated whether I wanted to bring the tractor over or just come look at it first, and I figured if I screwed around looking at it, I would basically be at the point that I could have driven the tractor over here. So I might as well just bring it over and see what it looked like, but I think it's probably a lost cause for the time being. There's rain on the radar. It's still a ways away now, so probably have an hour or two before it starts doing anything. But it looks like we're definitely going to get some showers. I don't think it's supposed to amount to too much, like a tenth to a quarter maybe. But we've got a few chances of that type of quantity here in the next few days, so I'm thinking we're probably done in the fields until the sun comes out for a couple days, most likely. But have plenty of maintenance projects to work on, so it shouldn't be a problem to keep busy. I think we're going to get the grain trailer hooked back up to the truck and get it moved to a handier spot to get to. We had it kind of tucked away for the winter, so it was out of the way. However, if it gets wet, we might have a hard time getting hooked onto it and getting the trailer pulled out of there. So I'm gonna get it pulled up on the driveway. I got a few more things to do on the truck still, so probably we'll unhook and work on the truck here the next couple of days as well. But that's kind of the agenda. Might rearrange some stuff in the sheds to get the planter in a better spot to work on the middle 6 row units. And I think hopefully my parts should be in today, so I might make a parts run and get that stuff. That way I can kind of do those center row units all at the same time rather than having to put the gauge wheels back on temporarily and then go back and replace the pins later. So that's where we're at. Always an adventure, always dependent on the weather. It's Thursday afternoon. Yes, Thursday. Yeah, April 2nd. My parts from Case came in, so I now have 24 of these shiny pivot pins for the gauge wheel arms, and got everything drug out here to the storage shed where I can stay dry and work on this relatively easily. It actually hasn't really rained much yet. The stuff that was on the radar this morning ended up missing us. We had a few sprinkles maybe about an hour ago or so, and there were a few raindrops on the pile of scrapers that I took off there a little bit ago also, but got everything pretty well torn apart. I just need to get the bolts pulled out of the openers, but got the scrapers off and the gauge wheels off. I haven't done anything with the pins yet, but normally we'll take the opener bolts out as I'm changing them, just so that I can more easily keep track of the washers, and since I have to kind of adjust those to get them the right gap on the front edge or whatever. But everything else I kind of tried to assembly line, so pulled all of the gauge wheel arms off and then pulled all of the scrapers off, and then went down the line and used these handy dandy dust cap pliers to get the dust caps off of the openers so I can get to that bolt that holds them on, all while enjoying a cold non-alcoholic beverage. So hoping to get these 6 rows done here today, and then probably we'll wait and do the wings next week, I would guess. I have a few other things to do on the planter, but if I can kind of get all the discs on and a good start on getting those pins in and everything adjusted on the gauge wheels for the 6 rows in the middle here, hopefully the others won't be too bad to get finished up in an hour or two next week. There is a few other things that we need to do. Since we replaced blades, we need to sort of check that the depth gauges are all the same. So that means we're going to have to pick the planter up and set it down 12 times or potentially more than that if we have to adjust. But normally we'll just use like a metal plate. The idea is you want 0 to be 0 depth, so you just use something. Concrete works great, but we don't have anything wide enough and flat enough to be able to do a 12-row planter on with this unfolded and everything. So we'll just use like a piece of flat steel plate on a relatively level spot in the grass, just so that we have something that goes underneath the press wheel at the back and then underneath the gauge wheel and the openers, and then kind of adjust everything so that when that says 0, the firming point is right on or just above or pretty close to the level of the steel plate anyway. So that'll be a next week project also. Handful of other minor things to work on, but nothing too crazy, I guess. We've got at least another week before we are legally allowed, or crop insurance will let us plant anything, so not getting in too big of a hurry. And I mean, right now the extended forecast, a lot of stuff looks warm, but my experience in the past is that is very subject to change. Well, I ended up spending some time on the phone and didn't get quite as far on this project as I had hoped. So I got all the pins put in and the blades on and the scrapers on, but I still need to do the caps, dust caps, and then get the gauge wheels back on and get them spaced off of the opener discs. But it's getting kind of cool as it gets later here. It's about 7:30 now. It's pretty cloudy, so getting kind of dark and hard to see. There are lights in this shop, but they aren't really of a quantity that makes it easy to work on stuff. So I think that probably I'm going to call it for today and come back and finish this fight tomorrow. Yeah, it's Friday afternoon, April 3rd, and we had some excitement overnight. So I kind of worked on the computer this morning. But we had some kind of freezing rain, sleet, all kinds of joyous stuff. We're actually under a winter weather advisory, I believe through like 4 o'clock this afternoon. So I haven't put the gauge wheels on the planter yet. I probably will brave the cold and do that after a bit. However, was going to work on the semi. The plastic frame in the dash, and it's probably going to be dark in the video, but like this whole structure that holds all of that stuff and the radio and everything is totally broken up, which is kind of a shortcoming of Freightliners, I think. So I've got the new frame here to put in, but a whole bunch of stuff has to come out to get to where I can get the remaining pieces of the old one out and get to the fasteners that hold that in. So that's going to be kind of the first project here this afternoon. Dad's kind of hoping to haul some corn next week, so trying to get the semi tuned up a little bit. I need to do some greasing on like the brake actuators on this. I think he checked the tires, and we went through the brakes and everything on the trailer and got that all greased and checked hub oil and everything yesterday. But I haven't done anything with this one probably since last summer. So I'm going to grease like the slack adjusters, and there's some on where the rod goes into the S-cams, I think also, maybe a couple actually. But anyway, try to get that all ready to go so that he can haul some corn. He's got some contracted at the ethanol plant that he contracted before they stopped giving a bid. So he's going to, I think, probably try to get that hauled sooner than later, and then we're maybe going to end up pulling the middle out of the big bins and mixing it into the drying bin, because it seems like there's enough fines in there that it didn't dry very well over the winter. So hopefully we'll be able to blend it off or mix it in and get it all dried down to where it'll make grade and be able to haul it all without having much dock or over drying the rest of what's in the bin is kind of the game plan. Well, it's about 5 o'clock now, and I never got a chance to work on the gauge wheel arms on the planter. I think it's still pretty cold because things didn't really melt off much. I did get most of the dash frame in. However, that was a lot of fun. Partly just because of all the crap that has to come apart and how hard it is to get to some of those screws. And then the new dash piece, which is aftermarket, to be fair, had the wrong threaded clips, so they're for some sort of a machine screw. And everything on this truck seems to be put together with these kind of coarser thread Torx bit, or yeah, Torx screws. So I need to get some different clips to fit the screws that I have, and or some screws to fit the clips that came with the dash to be able to have enough stuff to put it back together. But that was about enough of a challenge that I'm ready to be done for today, so probably gonna go after some parts on some things tomorrow, try to chase down the clips and screws or whatever, or figure out if I have some stuff at my house. And then take a couple days off and hit it back Monday and get some things done and ready to go to the field.